Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us here for today's online workshop, the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. I just want to thank you for taking the time out for the next hour or so to learn about how to write successful grant applications so that we can get that money into your business or organization's bank account. So today, when I refer to either business or organizations, what I am really talking about is doesn't matter whether you are a business, a for-profit, a not-for-profit, a community group, a charity, or an individual. There are grants across all of these types of organizations. So whether I refer to business or organization, just know that I am talking to all of you. And every grant is different. Every business or organization is different. So that is why we need to learn the skills to work out how we can present our project or plan in the best possible light so that we can get the big tick and those funds in our bank account. For those of you watching on the recording, hello. If you do want to get in touch, all the details will be on the YouTube link as well, and my email address is there. And as one of my friends always says, I can talk about grants all day. So if you do want to have a chat, or work together, there'll be some opportunities and some details later on in the workshop, but otherwise let's make a start. Who here today is a small business owner or a committee member and is here to learn more about grants? Now, we know that you're already too busy and wearing a number of hats when it comes to small businesses. And so when it comes to grants, what I find is people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what's involved, and it just all becomes way too hard. The other issue we've got with grants is that quite often there is a short application time, sometimes as little as 4 weeks. And what I mean by that is when the government or the agency release the grant program, and the closing date will be in 4 weeks. So that means if we don't find out about that grant on day 1 or 2, already we're down to 2-3 weeks to do those grants. So this is why throughout this workshop today, I talk about being grants ready and getting prepared so that when those grant programs come out, we can be good to go. Because remember, we're already trying to run our business and do everything else we need to do. And this is something additional. But if we can do this properly, this can be a game changer for your business to help it grow and expand and do what you need it to do. And as I've said, resources and time are scarce and limited. And so we need to be working in our zone of genius, and we need to be thinking about, is this really a skill that I have? Am I going to go and learn this skill, or am I going to outsource this service to someone else to help me to get the best possible outcome? Now, I want to start today with a question around your organizational business. How much free money are you missing out on in grant opportunities? Now, you might think, well, I don't know the answer and I have no idea, but we just need to think about what is it that, this is why we're here, to know where to find the grants and to also be part of that ecosystem so that we can be in the running. If we don't apply for grants, we definitely can't get that tick, and that's what we're all about. So I'm Liz of the Grants Club. I'm a grants coach here to help small businesses and organizations take the stress out of grants, finding the grants, learning about how to write them, helping you to write them, and also to help you create that strategy of where we can take our business to align with some grant applications and programs that is really going to make your business thrive into the future. I like to think of grants as a bonus. We don't want to rely on them, but they can definitely accelerate our growth, and we need to have that strategy to be working out what is it that we can invest in our business that is going to make a difference to either efficiencies, to grow, to have more staff, or whatever it might be. And that's what we're here today to talk about, of my 7 steps that I'm going to share with you of how to write grants. But I also start with a bit of a geeky admission that I absolutely love writing grant applications. For me, it's like writing a business plan. It's my opportunity to learn about your business, where I have to extract that information out of you, because you as a business owner or organization know more about your business than anybody. So I use my skills to be able to ask you the questions and expand on that. And throughout that, develop that strategy and that really strong project that we can apply for. I've done a couple of years in government on the other side, working in agencies with Victorian government, overseeing some grants programs. And that's really where my world changed, that these grants existed, that a lot of people didn't know about them, and they didn't know how to apply for them. So for the last 3 years as a business coach and grants coach, I now focus on helping businesses to develop their strategy and to write those grant applications with them and for them so that we can have the best chance. I'm really proud of my 85% success rate when we're applying for grants. And the reason for this is because I will work with you to make sure that your project is as strong as possible. And if I don't think that your project is quite aligned with the objectives and outcomes that they're trying to achieve from the grants program, then we'll work together to make that project slightly different, more applicable, and much stronger. We have to remember that grants is very competitive, and in today's economic climate where we're heading into a recession and we're also thinking about cost of living and businesses getting hard. And so more and more people are looking towards grants, and we need to be at the top of our game to be in the running. But it's also the whole reason why I do what I do is because I want businesses and organizations to be prepared and to be ready to be able to apply for those grants that they are eligible for. Otherwise, we're just leaving money on the table and we're just not in the running. If we don't send in an application, they're not going to come and walk into our shop or our business and hand over some money from the government. So yes, it is free money. There is a bit of work involved in it, and it is an investment. I always say to people when we're writing grant applications, yes, we're doing that, but we're also creating a resource. We're answering questions within our business that we've probably never sat down and considered. So it's also a time to reflect and really showcase the best parts of your business and develop that growth plan to work out where you're going to go into the future. So as I've said, grant applications are my thing, and allow me today to work in my zone of genius so that you can continue to work in yours. How does that sound? Now, this is my favorite quote when it comes to grants, because I recognize that people don't know what they don't know, and this is why I do what I do. But nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. I hear time and time again from people that they've missed deadlines. They've got too close to the deadline and realized they didn't have half the documents, and it all just got too hard, or they started writing it and then they didn't know where to get the quotes from, and they hadn't really planned out the project, or they didn't know what a project plan was. So today we'll go through all of that, and I will share with you my proven process. So now get your pens and paper out, ready to take some notes, as I share with you my 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, this is my proven process that I share with and use with my clients, and I share with my audience on this online workshop on a fortnightly basis. I can't write all the grants for everybody, so it's my aim to make sure that if people want to learn that skill, they have the opportunity to do so, and also better understand what is involved in applying for a grant. So it all starts with, what does success mean to you? Now, this is going to mean something different for everybody, because each organization and business is different. We've all got different growth plans, and we've all got different desires of why we're doing what we're doing. So we really need to be thinking about, what does success mean to us, and how we're going to grow and expand our business to reach that success. So when a grant program is released, we need to make sure we gather all the information. Now, sometimes there can be documents after documents produced. There'll be the guidelines. There'll be the background of why this program exists. There'll be templates. There'll be past recipients. There'll be so much information that it just becomes a bit of a minefield. But we do need to make sure that we get that information so that at the start, we can read through the criteria and make sure that we as an organization are eligible. And then also making sure that our particular project that we're planning to apply for is also eligible as well. So we need to make sure that both those elements are ticked off at the beginning. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to have my time wasted either by applying for a grant that we weren't even eligible for. And I've seen this before, where clients that I was working with, we were getting some letters of support from some neighboring businesses, and they said, oh yeah, we're applying for that grant. And I'm like, are they really? Because they're a winery, and this particular grant program excludes wineries. So right off the bat, they were not eligible to apply. So they sent in an application that spent all that time and effort on it just to get a no right from the start. So that is the very first thing, to make sure that we are eligible. Then we're going to draft our outline. What is it, the project that we're going to apply for? Or we may have a number of ideas or projects that are applicable, and then we're going to pick the best one. And at this point, this is what my wonderful VA, Erica, helps me with for clients. It's creating the Word document from the application form. This is what I share with the clients, and we work on that document collaboratively to get all the information, because quite often there will be heaps and heaps of information. I think the one yesterday was 8 pages of information, and that spans from basic business information, basic contact information, and then really in-depth responses to what is our project, what are we trying to achieve, how are we going to do it, budget, all of that kind of stuff. So I put that into one document, and also make sure that we have a checklist within that to make sure that we know what other documents and supporting information we need to get and produce, so that we can attach it to our grant application. The next step is planning our work plan. And as I say, we then create that checklist into a numbered checklist so that we don't miss anything, and we add some deadlines as well. And we also work out who is going to be part of this. Do we have enough staff or resource internally to be able to do this? And having that all-important kickoff meeting. What is it we're trying to aim for? What are we trying to do? What are the timeframes? What are all the different components? And basically go through that Word document in quite a lot of detail to make sure that we're assigning that to your team members to make sure they know what they're doing. And this doesn't have to be me, but I do encourage you to think about, do you have the right skills and experience on your team to know what they're doing? There's a lot of people that have written grants and call themselves grant writers, but have they had the success? Grant writing is quite a unique skill compared to other writing. And you need to be thinking about, have they had success with their writing, rather than just writing the applications and not knowing whether they were successful or on the money in being successful in getting that approval. So just thinking about, have you got the right people within your team with the right skills to make this efficient, and also making sure that it's a worthwhile exercise. Remember, we're already busy, it's an extra thing, and we need to make sure that trade-off and balance is worth it. And I always at this point like to plan ahead, and making sure that we can plan to be submitting a couple of days before the deadline. Couple of reasons for this: we don't want to be rushing right at the end. Nowadays, most of the grant applications are through electronic portals where you have to have a login and a password, and we submit through that. So there's always that issue of tech, and we don't want to be submitting at 10 to midnight. When it closes at midnight, the computer crashes, there's no one at the government agency that we can call, and we're in trouble. And nowadays, if you don't submit through that portal by the given deadline, they will not, under any circumstances, accept anything through email. So just something to keep in mind, and that a lot of people don't realize. Whereas if we're doing it in business hours or a couple of days before, we at least have some time up our sleeve to get it right, or to call someone and make it happen. Step 3 is about turning the grant application into its own project. So just like any other project you would do in your business, we want to be looking at this grant application as a separate project. There's distinct deadlines because, you know, as I said at the start, normally sort of 3 to 4 or 5 weeks until it closes. So it's a short, sharp project, but it's also a busy time, and we need to make sure that we are planning it properly. And we also need to be always checking in with ourselves to be thinking about whether our project, as it evolves, as we develop and strategize and build on those ideas and start planning out our project, how is this project going to happen? And always going back to the guidelines of, does this still align with what the program is trying to achieve? We need to think about the reason why government are even offering these grants. And quite often is because they're basically outsourcing something to businesses or organizations, because they're saying, well, you guys are more innovative than us. You guys have got way more resource. So we'll outsource this to you to be able to achieve these outcomes that we want. So we need to be really clear about how our project is going to happen. This is where we allocate the tasks and actions amongst our teams, and also looking at our budget. What costs are involved to do this project? And you might say, well, I have no idea. And this is why I always talk about being ready. We need to be going to those suppliers or those other businesses to say, how much is this going to cost? Go and get a quote, build that relationship, go and do the design with them so that we can get an accurate cost or an estimate of how much this is going to cost. We do not want to be applying for a grant that is a maximum of $20,000 for a project that's actually going to in total be $100,000 and we don't have any extra funds. So that's where we need to make sure that we're aligning our project with the right program with all of these criteria. But also it's all important that at the end of the day, we're asking for money. So the budget has to be absolutely right. And we have to know what we're actually asking for as well. So this is why it is important to do that budget. Now, this next step is probably the biggest step of this whole process, collating your supporting documents. Now, I've referred to this a couple of times, and there is a lot in it. So each grant program is different in terms of what they ask for and what they allow you to attach to your application. Some will ask for specific supporting documents that you need to attach, and if you don't attach them, you can't apply. Sometimes they ask and say you can't add anything extra. Some might say, oh, you can add 3 extra supporting documents of your choice, and we need to be prepared for these as well. But what do I mean by supporting documents? Looking at what they're asking for to begin with. So what's on your checklist? Are they looking for a business plan? Are they looking for financial statements? Are they wanting a project plan, a risk management plan? There are so many things that they can be asking for, and we need to be really clear and understanding of what they are asking for. And also making sure what format they want them in. I've seen some grant applications where they give you the template and they say, we will only accept a project plan submitted on our own template. So again, those little attention to detail become really, really important. And that's why right at the beginning, we're checking all of those things first, making sure we understand what's involved and then putting them on our checklist. Now, letters of support. What do I mean by this? What I mean is businesses or organizations or parts of community that are going to benefit from your project going ahead. We want them to write a letter of support, basically saying, this project is going to be awesome. It's going to benefit us. It's going to be great for the community and the local economy. Please support it. And if you work with me, we actually draft those letters of support and then we send them off to our businesses or whoever we want, our associated partners. They pop them on their letterhead. They might add in something a bit more specific or unique to themselves, and then they send it back to us signed so that we can attach to the grant application. This is really important to think about before we do anything else, because this is going to take time for them to send it back to us. And again, we don't want to be scrambling at the end, waiting for them to return them to us, and then we can't attach them. These are seen by the government as a really, really good boost to your project. And so we want to make sure we can get at least 2 or 3 letters of support that are going to show clearly the benefit of your project, but also it demonstrates that this project is not just for the sole benefit of your own business and propping it up yourself. There's a wider outcome. Getting the quotes, thinking about who you're going to get the quotes from. You might choose to get 2 or 3 quotes from different suppliers because you don't know how much it's going to cost or you're not quite sure of the design. Just also remember, most of the time when we attach quotes at the time of application, we are not required to necessarily go with those suppliers. And also make note that your quotes, by the time we find out about our grant being accepted or successful, those quotes are normally out of date. So we need to be making sure we're also building good relationships with those suppliers so that if we are successful, we can go back and say, hey, look, can you please honor this quote that you've given to us and work with them to make it happen and be beneficial for both of you? Because I will just say here, if costs blow out on a grant application, and from the time that you've applied to the time that you have been approved, you will have to cover those extra costs. We cannot normally go back to the government and ask for more money just because costs have gone out. And that's something to really think about at the moment in the current economic environment, where things are expensive and things are, inflation is high, and we just need to, so, we might put in the highest quote, even though we don't think we might not necessarily go with that particular supplier. So they're the things that we need to be thinking about. Financial reports. So in Australia, most grants more than $50,000 require the last 2 years of financial reports to be attached as part of the grant application. So again, having your books up to date, whether that be in Xero or MyOb, being able to run a P&L and sometimes a balance sheet to be able to, again, attach to your application is really important. And at this point, this is just about getting shit done. This is a lot to collate at this point. This is also the step that involves an external party most of the time. So we can't be doing this ourselves, and we need to be giving them enough time and information to be able to do what we need them to do, and then also making sure they give us that information well before the due date of the grant application. Now, you might have noticed that we're up to step 5 and we're only just starting to write the grant application. What I do here is basically take all that information that we've collated, and we've got our Word document, and we would have scribbled and we would have brainstormed, and now I have all the complete information, or most of it at least, and then I start writing the draft application. And we've got to be really clear in our writing, using simple language, not using jargon for our industry, but then also making sure that we're answering the questions that are being asked. So we need to go back to those guidelines and checking what the key criteria is that we're looking to address, and what is this program all about, and then again making sure that our project that we've proposed is still on track to be in alignment with those proposed outcomes. Check the assessment weightings. Quite often they will tell you what questions are going to be the most important ones to answer, and also making sure we're checking the word or the character limit. So in that Word document from the application form, I always make sure that we enter in brackets what the word limit is. And quite often it might be 50, 100, 500 words. It really does depend. But we want to utilize all of those words as much as we possibly can, and just make sure sometimes have character limits. So this is why we also use a Word document to do our draft application, because if we want to write more, we easily can, and then we can refine it and then copy and paste it right at the end into the portal. The other thing is the portals are getting very smart. So they have built-in features that if it's a 500 word limit and we're trying to submit a response of 550 words, it will chop it off mid-sentence. And so that can be really, really annoying, whereas we can just use the word count feature on Word, and it's much, much easier and much more efficient. So a couple of wee key tips in there that does just make life a lot easier when it comes to writing grant applications. And the next step is about adding in your why and your story. So basically writing in a persuasive way to the panelists that we know nothing about them, they know nothing about us, they know nothing about our business, our project, or anything. So we have to use plain, simple language, but we also have to write in a persuasive way to basically say why our project is the best with the most impact. Now, this is one of the other benefits of working with a grant writer, because we're so in our business and, we're so busy and we can't see the wood for the trees and we've been doing this forever. Having that fresh perspective of how we can be answering these questions is really, really important. So, and also making sure that we can really highlight and promote the impact and be able to demonstrate what we've already done as a business and what we plan to do in the future. We really need to be thinking about, okay, how can we tell the government to support us and to help us to keep going and keep accelerating and keep expanding to do greater things? And making sure at this point we're also including the benefits to the target audience. So when we're responding to the questions in the grant applications, we're always linking back to those guidelines and always making sure that we need to be answering those questions and answering the question they are asking. I've seen it time and time again where people haven't written enough of a response. They haven't answered the question properly. And I always say to people, if the question says, what is the project? We need to answer that with, this project is to purchase a piece of equipment, and be really simple and obvious about it. It might seem very obvious to us, but not necessarily to someone that knows nothing about your business. So that's another wee key tip that we need to be thinking about when we are writing grant applications. And now up to the last step, where it's super important to get someone to review and read through your application. I always get my clients to do this, and sometimes an external person. We're checking for it to be factually correct, but we're also checking for grammar, and we're also checking that what we've written is really clear, and that someone that knows nothing about this project can clearly understand what we're trying to achieve. Sometimes you might even get your kids to read through it and then get them to summarize and see whether they can take the key points out of it. If they can't, we've got too much jargon, too much waffle, and we need to go back and make it concise, easy to understand, using simple language, and explaining and describing in a way that flows and makes the project make sense. If someone finds that the project is all over the show and there's not a flow with a start and an end and an outcome, you're going to get a big cross and a big no right from the beginning. And then we're going to press submit on the application. So hopefully it's a couple of days before it's due. And this can be a really nerve-wracking time. Some clients get me to submit it. Even I get a bit nervous. But know that we've double checked it. We've attached all the documents. Actually, I should have said when we were talking about supporting documents, making sure that we name those files as a very obvious name. So I'd have your business name, your project name, and then also, if it's business plan, if it's financial statements and what year it is, if it's photos of the shed, whatever it might be, but making sure that they are very clearly labeled so that we can, when we're reviewing the application just before we're submitting it, we know we've got the right attachments and not some random document. And then we're going to celebrate, because this would have been a big piece of work, but absolutely worth it. And we just want to reflect on the process, see what we learned out of it. And then you're on your way to apply for your next grant. The first one is always the hardest and always the biggest piece of work. But now hopefully we can use some of that grant application in the next one. We can use some of it on our website, our social media. We might have had to do a marketing plan that we didn't have, so we've had to develop that. So let's go and use that. But making sure we're reflecting on that process and giving yourselves a pat on the back, and then going back to business and doing the next thing that's going to allow you to thrive and grow, which is what we're all about. So there we have it, folks. That is my 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. And as I said, this is the exact process that I go through with my clients. I would love for you to share with me in the chat what your biggest takeaway was from today that I've just shared with you, because I do love seeing what parts of that resonate with some people, what was obvious to them, or what cemented their knowledge, or what was something they didn't know about or weren't aware of. Please do share that in the chat with me now if you like. Some people are surprised at how much planning goes in. The amount of people that say, oh, I normally just start writing. And I know, we can definitely start drafting and brainstorming, but we have to take that step back, plan it all out, work out the different components, who's going to do what, and then be able to write in an efficient way, and making sure that we're always mindful of the deadlines that are coming up as well. We might think 3 weeks is a long time. We might have a couple of delays, or people are sick, or we can't get the quote or something like that. We might have to change direction, and we can't do it all. So that's where the planning comes in. And we also don't want to get to the day of submission and realize we don't have anything to submit, or it's half done, because we can't get an extension. We can't half submit. Nowadays, the portal, if you don't attach a document, it will not allow you to even submit it. So they're just some things to think about. So thank you for sharing what you found useful in that. Now I'm just going to share with you some of my clients that I've helped to get grants, and there has been a lot of them. And I always say to people, I don't care what business you're in, organization, because it doesn't matter. That makes it actually easier if I know nothing about what you're doing, because then it forces you to tell me in really basic terms so I can understand, and then we can write that in the grant application. So sometimes that is a blessing. But I also work with clients over a 12-month basis where I learn more about their business, and now I can write the grant applications in an hour or two. They review it and we submit it. So we've created some real great efficiencies by me having a great understanding of their business, so that they can go and work in their zone of genius and do what they need to do. And then the grants are done by us, and basically as an outsourced service in collaboration with those business and organization owners. So what is the difference between these businesses receiving grants and your business? And you might say, well, I have no idea. Is it that you're looking for grants, or you don't know where to look, or you don't know what in your business is eligible to be funded? And that's what we need to also be thinking about as well. So just a couple of clients here that I've worked with, Matt and Kim of a Rethink Recycling Co-op. It's a not-for-profit in Melbourne. They were approved for a $59,000 grant to get their school trailer off the ground. So it's being built, it's nearly finished, with the aim of taking that trailer around schools to teach kids about recycling, and to spread their message and to grow their organisation as well. And recycling is such an important component of our society at the moment. And if you're in Victoria, there are currently a couple of grants available for recycling and circular economy. So it's also a topic that the government are very passionate about at the moment. So I do love working on those types of projects. Ben and Jessie, they got $27,000 worth of grants, which basically took their side hustle to a full-time business. So that was super exciting. And Designer Cabinetry, they got a $107,000 grant for a brand new machine in their business that allowed them to double their capacity and keep building kitchens for their high-end clients. And that was a real game changer for their business, because they were having all this work come in, a whole lot of wait lists. People didn't want to wait for their kitchens, so they were losing work to competitors. They bought in this machine through this grant, and all of a sudden they were taking their cutting time down from 4 days to about half a day, so they could just produce greater volume, more kitchens, and keep their customers happy. So now I can show you how I can help you and your business to grow and expand with business grants. But I also want you to think about, what is it in your business that you really would love that would help you to grow your business? Is it a piece of equipment? Is it a new staff member? Is it to run a program? Is it to get some new technology? Is it to develop some software? Is it to run an event? And here you can see that in Australia, there are a number of grant programs out there for different things. And obviously post-COVID, there's been a variety of different avenues that the government has explored in terms of injecting money into the economy and helping businesses to grow as well as the wage subsidies. There was rebates to get your air conditioners, as well as some health and safety gear if you're in New South Wales. So you can see the variety of grants are out there. At any given time, there's more than 1,500 grants available in Australia, but that does not mean to say that there's 1,500 grants available or that you're eligible for. So this is why it is a bit of a minefield to find these grants in the first place and making sure that we're applying for the right grants. So here's some common questions that get asked. And if you do have any questions, please do pop them into the chat, or if you're watching the recording, feel free to send me an email and I'll be happy to answer your questions. But can we help with grant writing grants? Yes, absolutely. Because some people just don't have the time, don't have the skill, and they just don't want to. So we can absolutely write grants. I do that on a service fee per engagement. So I review what the grant is, what's involved with the application form, where you're at with your business, and provide a quote per grant for that. Business plans, some grants ask you to attach your business plan. So if you don't have a business plan, we can write that for you as well. Just be mindful that if it's a short grant open period, to write a business plan and a grant application can be, it can be done. but it does take a bit of time and effort as well. So this is why I'm always talking about being grants ready. And if you don't have a business plan, at least draft something up or have a start so that you can attach it if necessary. What's my success rate? 85%. Pretty proud of that. Last year it was 88%. And there's a number of factors why grants don't get approved. But we need to be in the running to apply for them in the first place, and we need to make sure our projects are really strong to be competitive. How do I know what I need a grant for? Well, think of your growth plan. What is your strategy? And if you don't have a strategy, listen up soon. There's an opportunity to work together to develop that strategy, to work out the action plan of, okay, if I was to get a grant, what am I actually going to apply for? And be ready. So what's next? I've just shared with you my 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. We've looked at some grants that are sometimes out there. I've shown you some clients that were successful in growing their businesses and continuing to thrive from those grant applications that were successful. And if you want to be part of that, here's what we can do. So I do have a quiz called the Are You Grants Ready quiz, and Erica's going to put the link in the chat in a moment. Hop onto that quiz and see whether your organization is ready to apply for a grant. It's just a fun quiz, and from there you can then book in a 20-minute chat with me to talk about grants. Now, every business is different. Every grant application is different. Every project is going to be different. So my philosophy is it's just best to jump on a call. Let's chat about where you're at, and I can work out from that 20-minute chat where you're at and what's going to be best for you and your business moving forward in relation to grants. So again, there is a link that Erica's put in the chat if you want to book. I have some time this week and next week. We just jump on Zoom or on the phone and we talk through how grants can help your business, what else do you need to be doing, and where can we be going with those as well. And I've talked a lot about grant strategy and being grants ready. And especially at the moment, I have multiple clients that are getting a little bit desperate when it comes to cash flow, or revenue's not coming in as easy as it has been in the past. So they have been booking a strategy session with me. This is a 3-hour session, which might sound like a long time, but it's not, trust me. It's basically a chance to brainstorm your business, where you're at, get your ideas down on paper, and we can thrash out some different avenues that we can be exploring. And if you do want to book in that session, just flick me an email at liz@grantsclub.com.au. I absolutely love doing these sessions. I love learning about people's businesses, and some of these sessions have been absolutely game-changing for some clients where they were focusing on the wrong stuff. They weren't necessarily looking at the grant opportunities that were out there, or they weren't aware of what other grant opportunities were out there. So it's just a really good session to go through, get that fresh perspective. And we're coming up to the end of the financial year, and so it's a great time to be thinking about, well, what does the next 12 months look like? What does my funding strategy look like? What are my income streams? And we can have you on your way to having that clear action plan, that clarity, and making the most of the opportunities that are out there. I've also developed the Grants Club VIP membership. So about 12 months ago, I had a lot of clients coming to me saying, Liz, I want to know about grants, but I don't have time to look for grants. Can you help me? And I said, yep, I sure can. So this is where I've developed the Grants Club VIP membership, where we will learn about your business, we'll become part of your team, and we will search for grants for you, and then we will help you to work out whether you can, how you want to apply for them. And also there's an education piece as well. So what's included in the grants membership? We do all the hard work, search for the grants for you. We match you with the grants to grow and expand your business. So we look at that eligibility criteria, whether it be state, the type of industry, the type of business, whether GST registered, all of those components. And then we let you know what grants are out there. as we are doing today, we share our proven processes on how to write grants. We provide special discounts to get your grant applications written by me. And then we also can assist you and your business to become grants ready. So we can further develop business plans. We can be helping you get your financial reports up to date if they are in zero. We also have scheduled quarterly masterclasses held online. So this is about learning about how to be grants ready, how to get your business sorted for grants. Other signature programs offered exclusively to members. There's a private Facebook group for learning and asking questions with other like-minded businesses who are looking to grow. They've got that growth mindset and they want to be able to be in the running for grants, the first to know, so that they can have those opportunities. And we always start with a personalized strategy call. And for the next cohort of members coming through, this will actually be a quarterly strategy call because it is so important to be keeping up to date, knowing what you're doing, knowing how the different grants are out there, and different avenues that we can be exploring for your business. So as you can see, I get really excited about grants, but I get really excited about those strategy calls because that's what leads to those grant applications being able to be written later on. So it is a 12-month membership for $3,000 or monthly payments of $300. So think of it as an investment in your business. You're outsourcing it just like you outsource your bookkeeping or your accounting or your sales. We do all that hard work for you, and then we work with you to get the best outcomes. So if you currently are thinking to yourself that you don't have any time to be searching for grants, you don't know where to be looking, then this membership is for you. So Erica, if you can put that link into the chat, that goes straight to our website for you to sign up. That would be amazing. But also remember, if you do have any questions about it, we can jump on a 20-minute call and talk through the options to see whether that is right for you and your business. But I would love to have you and your organization as part of that membership. I've also got a free Grants Club community where I share grants tips, and other information out on the Facebook group. You can join that if you like. You can either put your phone up to the QR code, or the joining link is in the chat there as well. So if you have missed any of these links or you're not sure, these links will all be sent out an email tomorrow with the recording, so you can rewatch it if you like, and then have all that information at your fingertips to take action. So as I say, I love working with businesses and organizations to get their grants sorted, to get that strategy so that they can grow and expand, and we can take advantage of these opportunities that grants provide as a bonus. And that all-important quote that I absolutely love when it comes to grants: nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. If you do have any questions, please do get in touch. Also follow us on socials, Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the recordings of these online workshops are on my YouTube channel as well if you want to go there. There's plenty of opportunity to get in touch. And if you do want to join our newsletter, jump into our website and sign up there as well. We do a monthly newsletter with some cool things all about grants and business and how we can all be expanding and growing so that we can learn how to thrive in our business. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to talking to you soon.